Hello everyone, my name is Leah, and sorry for the lack of Royale High posting. I have been focused on something else. I'm embarrassed to talk about it right now, but you can clearly see if you look far enough on my channel. So I've been thinking lately, 2025, new year, maybe new Royale High. Not really, but let's remain hopeful. And let's see, can Royale High fix the state right now? So what do I mean by this? So Royale High used to average about over 100,000 players, but I'm going to be honest with y'all, that was because of COVID, not because the game was doing that good. If Royale High 2018 and 2019 was released today, I think it'll average around a good 20,000 to 50,000 players. 20,000 during its non-update season and 50,000 during its peak. So we're going to stick with those numbers, just so we're all clear. So what do I mean by this? So for context, Royale High is kind of dead. Like, you see the same people around if you play it really often. About 1,000 players at night and about 7,000 players during the day. Now, I am going to say though, this isn't entirely the developer's fault. I mean, clearly look at big games. Clearly, most people don't care about the personalities of the developers or really their actions, just as long as the game is actually fun to play. And plus, child gambling. So what do I mean by all this? Well, Royale High has accidentally, I wouldn't say trapped herself in this box, but definitely is a niche genre. It's kind of a, and I know a lot of the Royale High community won't admit it, but it is inherently a girly girl dressed up roleplay game. Even if there is masculine options, it is not the main priority. Like, if you were to go into Royale High with zero context whatsoever, everything's all pink and purple, and I'm not saying that's a problem. My main point is, it's not really the most inclusive game in terms of colors and aesthetics, unless you were to grind for it and go deeper into the game, which most kids really don't do that unless they're presented with these options up front. Now, you could say the free clothing does good, but no one ever checks that. I never seen many people use it in a while. Anyway, so do I think Royale High can save itself? I'm going to tell you all the truth right now. Royale High might be able to save themselves, but it wouldn't be at 50,000. I would say maybe on a good day it'll be 10,000 players daily and maybe 30,000 players when it's at its peak. So during update seasons, and generally, I don't think Royale High can really come back. Why do I think this? Well, it all started more like in 2020, but it really peaked in 2022 when Royale High, mainly Lance and Barbie, really failed to represent Black History Month correctly. And we'll often ignore the fact that they're Black creators and people who were trying to help them, they said they kind of delivered. They did deliver on their promises, which at the time upset a lot of the community. But I don't think this was actually this was the breaking back. I would say this was kind of a first strike warning. Lance and Barbie, get it together, please. And I'm gonna say they didn't really handle it that well. They kind of just removed Black History Month for Royale High. They kind of removed all kind of any cultural thing. I mean, I think this is so that they could rewrite the holidays in their own game, so that the lore could fit better. But I think it's mostly so they avoid this topic ever again. Now, Lance is a character that I could safely say is really the reason why Royale High is flopping. He has such terrible wording, I swear. It is either very vague or very poorly worded. Either way is going to piss off someone. Reasonably so. So what do I think? Well, so what was the second strike, you asked? Well, I think the second strike was actually in 2023. Now, there is kind of an in-between these two with the massive drought of updates and stuff. The only good update I would say of 2022 was probably Halloween. on a good day, maybe dewdrops, but I don't know. Anyways, so I would say that the drought between 2022 and 2023, well, late 2023, was really hitting Royale High. I think that's the real reason people left, and they just never came back to it. Because the influencers also left because there's not really much content to post and stuff. So, yeah. So, what do I think made some people leave in 2023? So, there was this whole thing in Royal Wing 2023 where apple bobbing was a thing, and a lot of the main candy farming methods got nerfed. Like, for example, and then a couple of people, I'll say a lot, but like a few people I remember who were disabled and had pointed out they had risk conditions that made candy farming harder by either constantly using their wrists to play Royale High or kind of just softly clicking with the apple bobbing. And no, I will say though, there was candy balls, but everyone here knows that it's really hard to remember these unless you have a timer. So that was probably the second strike. So what was the big strike? Like the thing that really took everyone out? Alright, so I'm going to say before the third strike that Royale High really has a problem with not having permanent updates. And according to Barbie, this year she wants to work on that. I sure do hope that's real. There's like a 30-70 chance it's not, but anyway, so I think people will still care about these things, but I think it's more likely they would have stayed if Royale High was actually fun to play. Because now it's just, well, I log in, I leave the game. And that's all it is. Unless you're doing a fountain every 2 hours, which is also kind of a part of it. So what do I think Royale High, okay, so what was the third strike? The toys. The toys that came out in July of last year. The first, it was the Valkyrie doll, and once people figured out what the company is and their stance on certain things that I have touched upon, they got upset, and they really weren't into the idea of toys, especially once you consider the fact that we only had one diamond set at the time of that year, and there was a huge content drought. So people weren't really happy. Now, a couple weeks later, there were a whole bunch of more toys that came out, which are kind of the Series 1 toys and stuff. And I kid you not, the Mystery Friends came out a little bit later. They aren't even available in a lot of countries that the Royale High community really plays in. They're like available around the world, but not, for what I heard, they're not even available in the US or the UK. Which is where a lot of the Royale High community comes from. And a lot of Roblox players in general. And it's really, I wouldn't say this was the main problem, but definitely kind of annoying if you were actually trying to complete the bingo board. The developers realized this, and they did automatically fill those bingo marks. But I personally think they should have given us the items too, because again, you can't really buy them. And I really think the messy toy distribution and half the toys weren't even released at the time. Well, the items anyway. They have somewhat improved on this, but there is quite still a little bit to go. I will say though, I think this is actually what killed Royale High. Not the lack of updates, not lost existence, just plain old, and not the lack of schedules or lack of commitment, but really the toys. See, all of these things really don't matter, because I've seen from other games you can literally treat your players like absolute garbage and they will still come back as long as the game is good. And unfortunately, Royale High is kind of one of those games where it's kind of boring after a while. And I'm saying this as someone who's been here since 2019, so about a good almost 6 years now. Just have to give it a few more months, and this will be my 6th year and 5th year being consistent in this game. And I can safely say I don't really log on that much unless I do my logins. Which, see, Royale High was not. The only reason Royale High was even really in the hundreds of thousands area was really because of the fact that COVID was around, and literally everyone did not know what grass was. So I would say, even if Royale High did everything right, they will be at the 20,000 and 50,000 player count. Bloxburg didn't do that bad for what I heard, especially not on the levels of Royale High, but still, I think the thing is that a lot of people are growing out of Roblox, a lot of people are growing out of roleplay, which naturally, they're going to grow out of Royale High. Even if Royale High fully committed to its fashion side, I think people will still grow out of it. And this isn't really Royale High's fault, it's more just general life. But the thing Royale High fails to do is bring in new players. Because for one, the only thing you get is maybe a wheel item, maybe a halo, really low chance, and human arms, human ears, and human bodice, and a free clothes for sure. Kind of low quality sometimes. Not low quality as in they're badly made. Low quality as in sometimes they won't load. But that's a whole other problem. That's not really Royale High's fault, but more like Roblox's. But, and also, it's not really the most clear on how to farm and stuff. I actually seen a lot of Royale High players, even before Royale High was completely flopping, ask me how the game works, and it's kind of hard to explain actually. I just say, well, you have to do quests, you have to buy some items and stuff, and I personally think the toothbrush, the bed, and all the quest items should be free. I mean, they made it last time free, so it's not like it's that hard. I don't be losing out much anyway, so I think this is actually the main problem. Like, Royale High is not beginner friendly, and I did see a tweet on Twitter, but that's a whole other story. So anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Who knows when I'm gonna get this out? For all I know, Royale High could have fixed these problems by the time I post this. I'm recording this probably on February 4th. I can't remember. I have bad memory. So anyways, bye bye. I love you. Mwah.